Right, so once we've drawn the chair out, we're just going to use a fine liner to go over the lines we want to keep. I'm not going to do thick and thin line with this one, only because it's quite a small drawing compared to the toaster, and it might get a bit too complicated, a bit too heavy once we start to put in the thick and thin line technique around the ties down at the bottom here. So I'm trying to use my ruler to ink in all the verticals. So I'm thinking about which lines I'm going to keep or need, and which lines I need to ignore. This one's not a transparent chair, however yours could be a transparent chair. So once I've drawn in most of the verticals, I'm just going to draw in my 30-degree lines going in this particular direction. So that's all the bottom ones here, this one. And then I'm going to switch direction, and I'm going to draw in the 30-degree lines going this way. So we've got one this way. There we go. So I've tried to do it quite faint as well, enough so you can see it on the video clip, but also when I come to rub it out, I don't want to buckle the paper. I want to make sure it goes. Now, when it comes to the cushion, because I'd like the cushion to look like it's made from fabric, I'm not going to do that with my ruler. I'm just going to try and be a bit more sensitive to the line to try and suggest that this is maybe a fabric, so it's got a softer appearance to it. So I'm breaking up that line. There we go, it's a bit wavy. I could even put some stitches or folds in to suggest that it's a different material compared to the wood. Okay, so I think I've got all of the finishing lines needed on that drawing. And once I've done that, if I put the paper in tension and then rub out in between my fingers to make sure I don't buckle the paper. So once I've rubbed out those construction lines, I'll double check just to make sure I've not missed anything, and then I'm going to try and render it. Now you could, if you want to, try and render it like we did in lesson 4 to try and put the grain on it, but I'm not in this particular instance. So this is going to be where the light source comes from, so I'm going to try and make it look a bit like wood but not with the grain. So I'm going to shade in all of the dark tones, so everything on this face going this way is going to be a dark tone. So try and stay inside the lines. If you struggle to stay inside the lines, you can use your ruler to protect the edge of the line and then render up to the edge of it. Missed a line there. So this is going to be a dark tone, and so is this one. And the same with this one. So I think I've got them all there, just this back section. So I've got an outside line there. So I've got here, if I render that bit in, there we go, making sure there's no white gaps. So the next phase, I'm going to look at the midtones. So they're going to come from this direction. So if I release the pressure a little bit, so there should be a difference in the tones, a bit quicker to render with the midtones, because you don't have to press on it quite as hard. So there we go, along that bit. So these are my midtones inside the lines, all the way along here, on that back section. There we go, and I think that's all. Now you could leave the other ones, the light tones, completely white if you want to, or you can just very, very gently just shade them in. So again, there's got to be a difference in the tone between that and the mid-tone, and then the mid-tone and the dark tone. So I'm just shading those in. And then finally, with my red, I'm going to render in, this is my dark tone. Here we go. This one's going to be in my mid-tone, so I can take off the pressure. And then the top of this is going to be the light tone, so I'm just going to shade that in on the side. If you want to, you could always put a little bit of a shadow with your pencil across the bottom, something like that, and then with my finger I just rub that in just to blend it. There we go. So there's our isometric chair with a finish applied.